All right, looks like we're live. I want to get a real test on just the audio real fast. It's on my headset. I need to hear this from YouTube, so I apologize. I gotta wait. All right, looks like we're live. I want to get a wow test on just the audio real fast. Dude, that sounds pretty good on this headset. Okay, that I'm like actually floored by how good the headset sounds on Restream. So two reasons. You might be watching this later in the weekend or whatever the case may happen. I'm waiting to make sure that Discord bot goes live or shows that we're live or shows that I'm live, which it is now. Okay, so really what I'm doing here, I don't know how many of you guys are going to be here. I don't know who's going to watch this. It might be extremely boring for some people. We are probably not even going to talk DFS at all. But I just figured this would be an easy way to show my process when it comes to the practice stuff, specifically because there's nothing going on today. There's no NASCAR race. I mean, I know NBA lock, but I'm not goofing around with NBA today. So I'm literally just going to be here probably for an hour looking through this data. And this one, because it's a 50-minute practice, so there's a lot of ways we can look at this. And if you guys have any questions, I mean, we can certainly go over stuff. But so what I did, let me go ahead and bring this up on the screen. So as soon as practice ended, I pulled my stuff and I just turned the TV off. At least for me, like I have the data here. I don't need to listen to Race Hub. I don't need to listen to NASCAR Radio, Sirius XM Channel 90. I don't need to listen to any of that. I don't want to hear any of that noise. I literally just want to be left alone to my own stuff and deal with that. And so, practicing, I saw that Sheets was live. I wanted to wait till he was done. So I goofed off and had dinner and everything. So I came back here. I have not looked at anything for this practice session. So I guess two things first off. So one, all this stuff I upload in Discord. Like it's not in the actual like NASCAR package or whatever that we have on the channel. Like it's not written that I will pull the practice data and upload it in a format for you to see. Like that's not there because well, one day I might get sick or one day I'm like, oh, this data's stupid. When you look at you know, that's not guaranteeing the package. But I typically just upload it for every race. And so like if you're in the Discord, I uploaded this um, sheet and I have not touched anything on this because I like to give this data to people like I just give it raw without my influence or anything on that. So like the file in um, Discord is completely raw. I haven't changed anything. I haven't deleted laps or done anything like that. But you have access to, or you look at the averages that NASCAR provides. And then for this race specifically, since this was a 50-minute practice session with pretty important notes or like key pieces in the practice session and stuff, like we had with 29 minutes, 11 seconds left in practice, Hemrick spun in 3 and 4, brought out a yellow. We had about a 3 to 4 minute yellow flag. They went back green with 2 minutes and 15 seconds left. About 5 minutes later, at 2 minutes or 20 minutes and 44 seconds left, we had a yellow for debris. They then went back green at 18 minutes and 13 seconds left in practice. And then we had another yellow at 3 minutes and 30 seconds left when Reddick spun. And so the track went green again with 2 minutes, with around like 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. Why is that so significant in this situation? Well, one, these teams had two sets of tires for practice. The fact that this is which seemed like this package hasn't done anything to address the racing, like it's just stupid. I don't know why NASCAR even bothers trying. Like when they like, oh, what's that? Horsepower can fix things? Ah, that's stupid. We're not doing that. But this is a new package. We're seeing that as I talked about in this one here, and also like we'll primarily be looking at this. We can get rid of this file that I uploaded to you guys. I'll deal with this crap later. I'm not dealing with F1 right now. When we look at, and primarily what I want to do here is compare this stuff and just see where kind of everybody lines into. And I want to see what we're seeing from practice. And so, anyway, going back, so the fact that we had this practice with a new package with multiple tire sets, with people possibly doing Q trims and all that towards the later end of practice session, there was already a lot of different ways to look at this practice. That's why, like, in my opinion, the NASCAR provided laps and averages are just crap. That's just trash. That's not even a data point I'm looking at this week, because a majority of the fast laps outside of Q trim, like Chase Elliott ran a faster lap towards the end of practice, like literally like last minute and a half. All the fast laps that set people up by their position in the practice were ran in the first like 2 to 3 minutes of practice. And a lot of people took the first minute to just warm the tires up. Like, this practice session was very interesting from that regard. And so when we're just looking at, long run and average speeds, yes, that's good to see. But the NASCAR provided averages might be a bit misleading and stuff. I think it was two. I could be wrong. ACS. I could have swore it was two. It may have been three. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I heard two earlier. Like I said, I could be wrong. But we have that aspect to it. We have the fact that a lot of teams, what I would do and what a lot of them would do or did was they were just going to run the first set like regardless, like just run it as long as possible, get a run in, see what that does, see if they guessed around the car or whatnot. And then typically whenever you would come in at the end of your run, whenever that was, you would most likely make changes, put new tires on, and or go back out with the old tires to see if that changed anything in the late run. But that would depend on like how long you're on pit lane and blah blah blah. Well, a lot of that was messed up when the Reddick, or not when the Reddick, when the Hendrick yellow came out, because that reset the field, that cut anybody off who was running a run at that point and forced them to come down pit lane and use that time as like, okay, well, boys, let's make changes on the cars and everything like that. And so at that point, in my opinion, the practice data sets and the practice laps are going in two different directions, and I don't think you can use them combined. This is basically how I view it, as two practice sessions. Now, the very quick yellow that we also got from the debris in the second half of practice is not necessarily concerning, but throws another wrench into it, because that was a period where a lot of guys were getting back into their runs. They could have been just trying something else, and then they're automatically thrown under yellow again. So at least for me, when I look at this practice session, I'm viewing it in two different ways. And so for me, the way that I did that, if you're in Discord and you saw that I was like typing blah 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 blah, this second my time, this second my time, blah 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 blah, mainly because nobody's really active on Fridays in the channel, so I'm like, okay, I can just type this in and won't get lost. Usually I'm writing it down on notes, but when I scrape from NASCAR's feed, I scrape, a bit, it's like every 4 seconds, every 2.5 seconds, somewhere around there. And so I have just thousands of files being scraped from NASCAR, and I look at the time and it'll show me the time that it's being scraped in my like real time where I'm at. And so I had to keep, that's why I was writing that down, so I knew what time segments that I wanted to either pay attention to or pull from or cut out and whatnot. And so when we look at this entire, now that we're here, I don't know how many, I appreciate you being here, ACS. And if you want me to look at anything specific, let me know, because you're the type of person who would benefit from this video. I mean, we're here for 8 minutes. And so what I did specifically was, did I use this? That's the CSV. What I did, so this is the entire practice session, right? Like, not changed up, not done anything. I haven't gone in and removed laps. I figured I'd do all that live, because while you could manually do it and set it to like remove any lap automatically under a certain thing, I need, at least for me, I need to see where these laps are. Like, this is clearly for Keselowski, like probably a Q run or seeing something different because he went down pit lane. Like, that's important. If I just go in and have something automatically go in and remove the 35 mph at the line lap, I'm not getting enough information, or I'm not getting the information that I want to necessarily see. Like this Chase Elliott Q lap, hey, like, okay, maybe you could tell it was a Q lap if this was automatically removed, but I want to be able to do that manually. So anyway, this is the entire practice session. And what I went ahead and did was looked at the first half and segmented it right at the yellow. And so when we look at the first half practice session, you can see the first half of the full practice is the exact same as the first half of this practice lap, but it cuts off, or I separated it roughly right around that first yellow. And when we're looking at what happened there, we'll use Kyle Busch as an example, because he basically just ran horrible in practice, and he ran the fewest amount of laps where you can see exactly what I was doing here. And so like quickly, like very, very upsetty spaghetti. And let me go ahead and just check one thing real fast, because everybody else came through. Let me see what AD got really fast, because let me just see here. Let me make sure when I look at Kyle Busch that he did run this few amount of laps here. So he... Nope. Okay, so also, this is kind of a check and balance approach. So if you have, which you should, I mean, it's fucking free. It's not like it's premium content or whatever. So abnormally distributed also pulls the data, and I typically cross-check my stuff with his if I have an issue. When we look at Kyle Busch, he legit ran 1, 2, 3, 4 laps, then went into pit lane. This is in time. His slow lap here on pit lane was registered as 565 seconds. So like when I'm looking through my stuff really fast, I'm like, wow, really? Kyle Busch ran 4 laps and then, got stuck on pit lane. But that's true. We're pulling the same data set. I just ended up pulling miles per hour. He pulls seconds. That's what I'd look at. But when you look at Kyle Busch's stuff, and this is yet again, I typically do this every week. I just don't stream it or whatever because like this shit's boring anyway. But when you look at Kyle Busch's stuff, I have it cut off here because this is when the yellow came out. When we look at the second half, let me hide this. When we look at the second half, we see this 126.9, and we see Kyle Busch start with his 126.9. And so I'm assuming, or not assuming, because I'm pretty accurate in terms of time, but these first reds on all these drivers are most likely coming on that lap that Hemrick brought the yellow out, or the lap that they were in pit lane. They were technically in pit lane at that point. And so I actually got the final lap right before the yellow came out, but that's not like, when we're splitting hairs, you might be like, well, that's not exactly what you wanted to do. You included the final lap before that yellow came out. Is that going to mess with your data? I'm not really concerned about it. That's one lap. But for the most part, I got exactly what I wanted to. As you can see, like here's another one lap red, one lap red. And so for me, I'm like, okay, cool. I got the time that I wanted to see and stuff. And so once we get that squared away, this is the second half of practice. And so yeah, basically what I want to do is I want to compare. We're going to do this real time. It might be time consuming, but yet again, ask anything in the comments, or we could talk about other stuff. What I want to do is compare the first half practice times for people compared with their second half, just in general, not necessarily the fastest lap. I'm probably going to use averages here because, yeah, sure, it might have some Q laps in there, but I want to see the discrepancy between the first half and the second half and where they were in terms of speed. The reason being that I'm doing that is because, like, when we look at the average running or the average runs that NASCAR provides, like this one can get really I'm not saying that Bell isn't fast. I'm not saying that like Jones isn't fast. Toyotas aren't fast, but this is clearly like the first run because that was when the track was fastest in general. And so this is like early in practice, basically. Like Bell's run was done in early practice. So yeah, sure, he did like 30 laps, but like, is that relative to what the teams are probably going to look like in the race or in Q? I don't necessarily think so. This was really before anybody, or not anybody, but a lot of the teams made changes to the car during that yellow flag period and when practice changed. And so for me, like I said, I'm not going to be using this data set at all. Like I'm not using this at all. I provide it because it's NASCAR stuff, but this is a case where this is a data point that I'm going to have zero interest in this week. So what I typically do here is like we're going to run, just put it on practice. Do the full practice first. It's going to be time consuming, but oh well. So when we look at the first practice, across the board, on average, we see Jones, Chastain, Hamlin, Elliott, Logano, Reddick, Berry, Larson, Truex, Bell, your top 10. Okay, and so yet again, probably not going to be very fun to look at here, but I'm going to go through and remove all the laps. I'm going to do the exact same thing in the first half and the second half laps. Actually, would it make more sense to start? I might start with the half, because then I can already check. I'm going to do the half first, actually. So let's start here. And this one isn't like a usual weekend because typically we don't have these long practices. Let's see. Did anything in practice indicate whether you can pass easier on this track or can like that? So far from what I was seeing, like the fastest laps were set, we were losing about actually 80s sheet would be better for this. But when we were looking at where we were in, actually, we can just use this as an example. This is technically what Mike Joy was referring to. This is where this is be okay. Like when we're looking specifically at fall off, we don't give a shit about how fast he was. We're looking at how much he's falling off at. So like early run speed on this one for Bell was, and yet again, that might be contradicting. Like, why are you using this as a data set to answer that question and not it in the race? Well, because this will answer the specific fall off question and not where they rank. And I apologize if I just, maybe be redundant or repeat things or whatever, but I'm trying to just make sure nobody's confused of why I'm doing certain things. Anyway, when we look at Bell, we see that he started at, 5-lap run at 27.69. He loses actually, what is that? That'd be 16 tenths, or a tenth plus a hundredth, 0.16 seconds here. And then we consistently kind of see, at this point he loses, 12, 0.12 seconds. And so we're seeing a fall off that is pretty significant. However, it's not apparent that any certain guy is truly losing it faster or slower than others. Like when we compare it to how other people are falling off, we're relative to what they're doing, relative to like that individual driver. Like this is a huge fall off. This is like 3/10. Like that's disgusting. Like that's pretty gross. I mean, we're at 15. We're at 16 here. We got an 11 fall off here. We got quite a significant one here. I can't even compute that in my head at the moment. 71 to 97 is pretty huge, even when we look at the slower guys. We're roughly losing, anywhere in the range of like fast guys are losing probably 0.15 seconds. Slower guys are losing probably 0.22, somewhere in that range between their 5 and 10 lap run. And we're kind of seeing similar thing here. It's a little bit more drastic between the 10 and 15 because some guys are probably using their tires up. But yet again, this was really all these are based off of the first run on practice. And so it was a pretty green racetrack. I know we had ARCA stuff going on, but for the most part, it was a green racetrack. And a lot of this looks like a situation of guys just kind of burn the tires off really early and affecting them, especially if they were slow in an ill-handling race car and stuff like that. But to answer the question in terms of can you pass, et cetera, man, I probably should have got more water. I'm almost out of water. You cannot pass. Byron already answered or already told reporters that he feels absolutely no difference in this package between the other one. Last year, like as soon as you get behind the person, you still can't pass them. You just get tight, and it's a fucking shit show. And so I'm leaning towards you just really can't pass in general. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is I got to find my back button here. So I'm going to go through. And yet again, typically I don't have like 70,000 laps I got to go through and look at here. These laps, I think I'm using 125 minimum. We can go ahead and probably change that once I get this done. And the reason why I do this is, yet again, I want to manually, just as I go through and look through people, like, oh, Ryan Blaney, lap 11, and I might be missing some scrapes here between 5 and 8, but like lap 11, okay, he came back in, main adjustment, okay, that's not really out of normal. And doing this allows me to just go through and make sure the data isn't too fucked up, because all the OGs, all my regular guys are familiar that that NASCAR is quite bad at times and literally provides the wrong, like this 1029, not using that, not a usable lap. Most likely when the yellow came out for him, but like you got to remove that lap. The 104 is now the slowest, so like we're not using these, which it's not calculating the average already, but I want to remove these so I can visually see where we're at. Let's get rid. We're missing a really slow lap here somewhere. We're missing the true red. Got to be missing a red somewhere. Maybe not. Yeah, there it is. So we're missing these. As I said, these guys went out and just kind of warmed up tires. And so like even on the first part, like a lot of these slower first laps out there, in my opinion, are not worth even using. I mean, this is like Tygel and Suarez, but like a lot of those I'm not even going to bother using. It's 129. That is for Gilliland. So I'm gonna remove a lot of these 122s actually, because that's either in traffic. So specifically, like if you're coming off of, or you're in traffic or whatever, 125 at the line, 124 at the line, 122, 124, like clearly that's, in traffic, checking up, something's going on. Don't necessarily want to include that. And I'm very visual in terms of looking at data sets. And so for me, like this is what I want to see. I want to start seeing this color point me to like who the fast guys are and what the bad laps are and et cetera, et cetera. That's my main issue. Like I haven't changed this. This is still based off of Pierce's stuff because again, when he just fucking kicked me out, I'm like, okay, well, fuck it, I don't care. I still got all your shit. But I don't really, I'm not going to bother changing this because like when I'm looking at rankings, I'm fine with red and green. But like for me personally, I view data better when I view it like in this color form, and that's why I specifically used and selected these colors. So now that we went through that, I am going to just look through stuff. Like these Todd Gilliland laps are fucking horrific, man. The Briscoe lap is slow. Like Todd, like I'm removing other like 122, 123s from other drivers, like legit drivers. But then Gillen is like legit, just like slow. He's just slow poking around, man. That's concerning here, man. It's very concerning. So like that's the first half. Let's go ahead and look at the second half here. So yet again, we've already included these laps in the other one. However, I'm going to keep them. Just because I don't think it's that big of an issue. How are you guys doing today? Anybody in here like excited for the weekend? Excited for anything else? Sorry that this is boring, but that's why I don't typically stream this because nobody wants to watch me go through this and like manually go in and change stuff. Yet again, it's not about the data set. It's not about the numbers. I understand that I can just go and have it instantly remove these, but I want to see the context. I want to understand why certain laps came up as them being slow at the line, came up as them just being off. You need to understand that. You need to see that. At least I think you do. Or maybe you don't. I just waste too much time and it's not going to fucking matter. It's all based on where people start anyway. Oops. Also, I'm on my gaming keyboard. My fucking solar powered one's behind me charging, although the sun is no longer out. So I'm going to fat finger a lot of things with this keyboard. That's also another reason why I'm using this headset, because this is plugged in. The thing I plugged the headset into. Okay, so once we get, okay, so now that I've wasted, a good amount of time for like 20 minutes, we're slowly getting to the point where like, all right, we could start aligning data and all that. Let me just start to move this one, this one, this one. Those are going to show up as slow. What else can I rant about as it is? I have not recently found out, because I kind of knew it, but I am colorblind, and I cannot figure out what the name is, because I struggle with blues and grays and greens. It's not that I don't see them, but I'd see them all as like a very similar color, which is why I'm very anal about like this color selection here. And I'd be like, well, there's a lot of green on the screen. Yeah, and I could tell the difference here, but like ask any person who knows me in real life, or any person who's like looked at my closet and I'm like selecting shirts and shit. It's so bad. Or like going to like a store and they'll be like, what do you think of this red shirt? And I'm like, which one? They're like, they're all these are the same shade of red. Like, what are you talking about? Okay. So now I don't think I'm going to do the full practice one here. So we got 123 showing up as dark red. That's fine. Because that's Hendrick. So, like, also, secondly, so, like, what the hell's going on here? We got multiple slow. I mean, Gillen's just slow as fuck. But, like, Hendrick is slow. Hostfar probably pitted this next time. At 22, like this 23 from Truex and Traffic probably pit. I'm assuming that they actually probably pitted right after some of these. But that's why I like going through. That's Kaz. That's just him being slow. That's Hamrick after he came out of the track. Like, what is going on here, man? These guys had to be in traffic. It's Burton, his final lap before he pitted. All right, that looks about right. So now that I wanted to get that done, let's go ahead and go to this here. Let's remove this because we don't need this no more. So full P, it's full peen. We got, I'm going to put P1 actually in P2. So full practice, ranked by average. We're just looking at averages. We're not looking at, oh, fuck. Actually, no, that's fine. We're just looking at averages here. I'm not concerned about anything else. Hold on. Give me a second. Hold on. Okay. So I'm not concerned that averages might be overrating. Like, why is Jones so faster? So like we understand that Jones did have like legit speed. We look through all his laps. Like he ran. I mean, this is like quite significant. Only 41, where some guys are running like deep 60s. That's gonna change a lot of the average. He ran less laps, probably on less laps on both. I don't remember if I just did this correctly. Let me do this again. So he probably ran less laps on more people. So let's go ahead and just put the average here. Okay. Yet again, we're looking at first only. So now we're looking at first. I just want to see. I just want to visually see discrepancies here. Okay. And then what about the second half? Which we can already see. I know Jones is 10th right now. We could visibly see the second half averages are drastically different. You know, oh my God, come on, keyboard, or come on, mouse. We can already see that this is telling a different story. Tell the tape, tell the story. All right, so let's look at this independently outside of the, can't even see. Put only P ranks. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Whatever, fuck it. All right, so let's look at this here, and let's. Do I want to put the salaries? It doesn't fucking matter. I'm going to go off of full practice average and then separate them by 2 here. Yet again, 5 of you guys here who are actually spending your Friday with me, watching me go through this slop. I do appreciate it. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully this is helping you in some form or fashion. But let's go ahead and look through this stuff and see how drastically different it is. So yet again, I'm going to be searching based off of the the average based on the entire practice, and we're looking at how these two are separate. So let's go ahead and look at Jones. So we see Jones like drastically second half of practice, maybe due to less laps, people catching up, is not the best car. Like, yet again, I am trusting more of like second half once people made changes, when people adjusted. I understand that there might be Q runs in there, but like even the Chase Elliott Q run, like let's just look at Elliott real fast and see how much he bumped up. Like that's not making that much of a difference. If you're fast, you're fast. If you're slow, you're slow. Whereas Jones here is ranking as like the best, fastest guy in the West. First, fifth, sixth. I'm not saying that's not accurate, but like, man, when we're trying to look at how, and yet again, at least I guess for me, because we get qualifying tomorrow, I have to decipher this and look at how I want to project people. I'm going to assume that Jones, like depending on where Jones qualifies, I might still like him and stuff. But like, I need to understand how drastically different, certain things are and stuff. So anyway, let's look at Chastain. So Chastain. So, okay. So like, all right, why is he dropping so much here? So let's go ahead and look at these two separately. First practice ran 12 laps. Okay. So like, it's not that big of a drop off. It's just him running less laps in the first half and doing, that's still fucking nothing. 12, 36, 38, 48 laps for Chastain. That's not really what you want to see, where other people are in the 60s. Actually, when other people are, let's see, let's compare him in general. The 1-to-1 here, he cuts off 44. It's not what you entirely want to see. That he didn't run more laps, but he did came in early, didn't like something. Yellow happens, he goes back out. Second yellow happens. Then here we are. We're running our long run. We're looking at it here. So Chastain's run, this run is actually primarily done in the second half of practice. So like that's a pretty respectful amount. We'll look at Bell when we get to Bell, but like knowing that, like I'm actually gonna, at least on my own thing, I'm gonna highlight him as like, hey, that came primarily from second practice. That'll probably be more important once we start looking at where all these fast laps and stuff come from, or where all these laps and stuff are coming from and stuff like that. Just check and make sure the stream is still working. All right, cool. Nothing's frozen. All right, let's continue on to Hamlin. Fast across the board. So, and yet again, sorry that's kind of cut off there. But Hamlin. Okay, that's not bad. Look at total laps. That's like 55. That's fine. Hamlin has true speed. Hamlin has true realistic speed. Yet again, we don't have a lot of people running 20s. When I'm probably done here, I'm going to probably rank either by 10 or 50. I'm going to try and do 15, actually. I want to see everybody falls in line. But Hamlin, true speed. Not saying he's good for DFS. We're not talking about DFS at all right now. That is not what this is about. This is just deciphering, can we trust the practice data? Can we not trust the practice data and stuff like that? We get to Elliott. Look at them separate and look at it in total. Fucking nothing ran in the first. Everything ran secondly with the Q run there. If you take out this 130, what is that average at for Elliott? We're looking at 127.9. Oh, well then yeah, he's still right there. So even with that Q lap, he's still right in this range. So that isn't too bad. I don't necessarily like the huge discrepancy here. However, he said a 9.5. Come back to that later. Nothing out of the ordinary. Or nothing wildly to have note. Nothing good nor bad towards Logano or towards Elliott. Here we are with good old Joseph. All right, that's fine. Early laps were fast. This is him at the top of the board. Practice times. First half. Man, there's a lot of people who like went out in the first practice and just stayed out until the yellow came out. And then other ones really didn't get that long of a run in the first half of practice. They did it all in the second half, which is very interesting. I thought it would have been the other way around. Logano, true speed, respectful. Go ahead and highlight him as I keep on going through this stuff. I'm going to move this over so I can see this easier with the camera there. We look at Reddick. Practice laps. First half. Did a longish run. Actually didn't go into pit lane until 20. Came back out. Ran a good amount of laps. Yeah, Ryder, okay. It's not too bad. Yet again, this is not a data point that I'm going to live and die on, but for me, I need it to be like when I do glance, I'm like, well, let me just look at this really fast, see where they came out. The guys highlighted are like, okay, I can actually kind of trust that data and everything. Stuart Haas. Who am I? Yeah, so nothing ran early. I mean, this is like absolutely nothing in practice. High average due to him running very few laps. I bet you he's going to be, yeah, he's slow as fuck. Okay, yeah, so like that's, so yet again, maybe I was too harsh on this because so far I'm not seeing anything that isn't too wild. I thought entering this, all the early laps in the practice session or all the ranked laps here would come from the first part of practice. That so far does not seem to be the case from what I thought it would be. So yet again, that's why I do this. That's why I go through and why I like double check things and look at stuff like that. Hamlin, yeah, I mean everybody's making pretty huge changes so far. That's not saying that isn't accurate, Andrew, but I have been live for like 40 minutes and I've been talking about this and that, and like if this video is somewhat interesting to you at this point, I would encourage you to watch it from the very beginning because I probably addressed most things that people are going to bring up at this point. That is the only one thing. Not saying that is inaccurate, Andrew, but that is the one thing I really didn't like about these types of videos when I've done them in the past. This is like I'll be live for like an hour and 10 minutes, right? And then somebody will show up like an hour and 10 minutes in, no context, no, not even bothering to like, well, this guy's been live for an hour. There's a good chance he has talked on the topic I'm about to ask him. Nah, fuck it. I'm just going to ask him my dumbass question right now after he's been working for an hour. And then I'm like, bro, I talked about that like on like minute 14 hours ago, yours didn't necessarily fall into that, Andrew, but I'm just saying that's typically what I've ran into a lot. That is nuts how slow Larson was in the first half compared to the rest of the field, man. That is interesting. Because even after that, despite how slow he was in the first half, he still managed to be ninth fastest on average in the entire thing. It's the long run speed, man. So that's trustworthy. And I'm mainly being trustworthy of like, oh, that's true. I'm looking at the long runs. We're not even worried about this early crap. Unless they didn't run 15 or 20 laps, we're mainly looking at this type of stuff. That's not race winning for Larson. This is not like, oh, good DFS plays. This is like, okay, when I rank this by 15 laps, Sunday morning or whenever I'm doing my stuff, I'll be like, okay, 13th here, blue, all right, I can trust that. Don't got to think about it any farther past that. Let's look at TrueX. I got 13 people here now, so like, thank you for joining me on your Friday when you could literally be doing anything else. I'm also doing this just because I enjoy looking at this data. I don't like this isn't boring for me. What am I gonna do? Hop on? I don't got a date tonight or anything. I'm not gonna go eat out or anything. I'm not gonna hop on VR chat and ERP with people. There's literally nothing else I'd rather be doing right now than looking at this crap. Look at this data set. And you also might be curious, like why, like on tricks, I'm kind of just jamming through, not really like, well, like one, like this is a good team. If there's something wrong, it's going to show up in multiple things, and you can get once I've like looked through the other like 7 guys or whatever, we can get a feel of what practice lap or what time in practice they are at, what the laps are doing, and stuff like that. And so at this point, I'm kind of going through, and I can feel more comfortable with that. I think that 17 to 15 average is pretty trustworthy on that data set. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe we will be using that a little bit more. Okay, so like here's Bell popping off, right? So we're gonna fact check this type of stuff, which at this point now I might actually be more trusting of this than I originally thought I would be. But practice in general, 10th average, every lap included. Yet again, pit lane, but ends with a long run. Ends with he did 30. Where did that 30 come from? What section is that 30 coming from? It's either okay, so it's either because we're on lap 30. Like I said, I might be missing some laps just based on my scraper here, but he enters pit lane here on lap 31. I mean the bell's blocking the screen there, but he's in lap 31. And I mainly want to compare this. So that yellow comes out most likely. Whereas in pit lane, does it get interrupted by another yellow? He does not. This is, it may have just been, he may have literally just crossed 30. The yellow comes out for Hendrick. We go back out. Yellow comes out for debris. He then comes back out and does another long run. Okay. So if I was looking at like lap times, like how AD pulls it, I could tell what section the NASCAR actually 36, 10, 20. Let's get to 66. No, he doesn't. So these first runs, or at least this long run is from the first part of practice. But going through, we can probably go ahead and actually trust that data set. Let's see the difference in speed between first half Bell. That is 127.6. 127.6. Remember that. 127.6. When I point the mic at the crowd, what are you supposed to say? 127.6. Okay, now we're gonna look at the second one real fast. Actually, that lap's included in that one. So let's look at this here. What was it, chat? What was it, crowd? 127.6. People in the back, 127.6. 127.8. Wow, brother man. I mean, identical time, slightly better second, might have more laps, better change, but dude, man, that's impressive. That is very impressive. That is legit. That is 100% legit. That is impressive, man. He is going to be a tough cookie to beat on Sunday. That is impressive. Look at McDowell. Interesting. Let's look at the Nemechek boys. Look at Legacy. here. That was the other like big question mark. Like why? Like is it looking like based on this practice, Hendrick might just be slow this week. The package might not have changed how the track races, but it has certainly changed how the speed is on these cars. And we might not be playing Hendrick. It might be a Penske and Joe Gibbs race tomorrow. Okay, so that's there. This guy's slow as fuck, man. What the hell is this? This is horrendous. These are horrendous laps for Nemechek. What the heck was going on second half of practice? That's wild. So, like, here's an instance of, like, we clearly see a drastic difference in terms of speed between Nemechek in the first part versus the second now. We're not really at the same amount of laps, but that's concerning. So, like, yet again, when I'm looking at practice, like, kind of average stuff, yeah, like, yet again, average. That's kind of where we're at here. So, like, Legacy clearly has speed. You know, worst case scenario, he's like a 24th, 25th place car in the race. Most likely can run probably 20th or something. But that's interesting. God, we got so many cars to go. Hey, what's going on, Duarte? Yeah, Bell is freaking freaky fast, man. That is a fast car under Bell this week here. Lot of short runs from Blaney. Finish it with his long run. So Blaney's coming. He's got his runs. His average is coming late in the race or late in the practice, which a lot of laps here. That's see this one. I also want to add, whenever I'm looking at this stuff, deeply in my head, like, sure, I might say Ty Gibbs. I'm literally just looking at like driver G or whatever. Like, I am not being like, oh, this is Blaney. I don't like Blaney or whatever. Like, I'm saying Ryan Blaney as like his identification lettering, the data point that we're on, not because it's like Ryan Blaney or something. But this one's a bit fishy for me. This one is a bit concerning here because we got, like I said, we know for a fact they at least had 2 sets. They may have had 3, but he should be faster here if he had that. If he had real speed to contend. I mean, he ran a decent amount of laps in the first part, man. That's not sure I'd like this. Something I'm not really liking there. All right, so we got Busher now. A lot of laps. Practice. Yet again, if you want to do this yourself and you are a member of the NASCAR DFS package here at TrueDFS, this data is available for you to go ahead and look at stuff. Maybe you don't like how I'm approaching something, or maybe you don't. Maybe you think I'm wrong, which can be. I mean, I'm certainly not the smartest person ever, and I'm probably the dumbest person working for TrueDFS. But if you feel like you don't like what I'm doing, or you don't like some data point or whatever, I do have the data up there or on there in the Discord, so you can look through it yourself. And et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean. Wallace did a very long run early. Yellow comes out. Debris yellow. Shit, man. And then Q run. So this should be pretty trustworthy when it comes to Bubba Wallace and the field. And where this stuff is. Oh, wow, man, dude, that's 130 at the line. 130. Okay, gonna probably show good short run speed. Curious to see what it ranks his long at. Bubba's got pretty decent speed. Man, Toyota's Joe Gibbs guys are pretty consistent. That's it's pretty respectful. I don't know about 10-lap ranking, but that's certainly a top 6 car. Telling you, man, Bubba's going to win people a lot of money this year. He's going to lose people a lot of money. Either because they don't play him when he goes well, or they play him when his pit crew screws him over. Like, this is, man, it's not early pit from Byron. Another pit. Not happy with the car. Clearly, something awry, something amiss here for Hendrick. Not very happy. Going to see what they can bring in. Like, this is a situation where, like, if Byron, Larson, and these guys qualify outside the top 10, I can't realistically see them competing for the win, regardless of if they could drive up to 6th or 7th and stuff. Like, this is a pretty big hit. Like, I don't think he's like 23rd fastest. I think these guys probably fit in around like anywhere from 14th to 8th, but that is concerning for the Hendrick guys. Like, if they do not qualify well, I think you have to write them off as guys competing for the win. And by that regard, DFS plays based on their salaries. At least I hope that makes sense. 80 guys are still here. I appreciate it. Been live for nearly an hour. Probably got about 15 minutes left looking at this type of stuff. Dude, I still got to look over I still got to do F1 stuff, man. It's going to be a long night. And I am not doing that F1 stuff on stream, because if you think this is boring, boy, you think this is hard to watch. Oh my god, building shit for F1 is the most boring, soulless thing in the world. What the heck? What is this showing? Why? What is going on here, man? That is first practice, second practice. That's I don't like that at all, man. Significantly faster here. Like, I would not trust Cindric's speed in the short run, which short run doesn't matter anyway, but like, Cindric is looking quite bad. Let's look at Kyle Busch, who just had a horrendous time. He was like 30. I think he was ranked at the time like 31st or whatever when he was complaining the first time. Yeah, here we are. 27 on average in the first half of practice. Very little laps. Made a significant increase. So that is good to see, especially when you're that bad. You're that far off. Not as many laps you want to see, but clearly fixed whatever was completely missed on that regard. That's perfectly fine. Let's look at Gregson. For the few of you that are here, is there anything you want me to specifically look at before I log off for the night when I finish this, or are you just kind of content with going over this stuff? Gregson is pretty much in line across the board. Let's see where he goes here. Across the board, see, this is what I get. So, like, average rank 21st. 20. Yeah, I guess so, man. I think that's a bit misleading. 29. He's not that slow. He's not that bad. But that's the greatest thing. Keselowski. Got the car significantly faster second half of practice. Made adjustments, just like they usually do in the races. They were much better once they were able to make adjustments. That is interesting. All these laps are coming later in the race. This long run is significant. We're going to put it blue highlight. I like that. I like that data point that aligns what I'm looking at. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I doubt Sheets said that, but I certainly cannot hold anything to that, man. Is he's not even bullshit. Not even here because I work for them. Not even here to like, you know. I just am blanking what I was gonna say. Um, but Sheets, even before I came here, is the most successful man that I have ever known. And this is coming from like when I worked with Jimmy Ray, who co-founded Sea of Transportation. Um, him and Royal Jones were like rich people. Um, founded a trucking company, founded a really big trucking company, and so like my first job was with Jimmy and stuff, and so I was used. I was kind of always around either business owners, like people who were friends of my family. Um, Lico Miller, who owns West Texas Plants, and Big Ben Stone, who I worked for shortly. I did some trade shows with him. Like, I'm not saying he's not loaded, but like runs companies, understands. Like, I was always around successful people, and so like growing up, it was like Lico and them, and then millionaires between like Jimmy Ray and Royal Jones and all that. So I was always around successful people, and then like Sheets blows the ceiling off of anything that I've ever seen in my life. Man, I mean, this man has found so much success in everything that he's done, business wise, gambling wise, poker wise, horse racing. Doesn't even matter. Like Sheets is one of the most successful people I have ever seen in my life, and he knows his shit when he comes to DFS too. Man, I know a lot of stupid people who are good at DFS, man. Like truly people who are like, wow, these guys vote in public elections, and Sheets is not one of those individuals. He is successful and one of the smartest guys I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. So yes, going around, I don't hold the candle to Sheets at all. I will have a video Sunday. I'll be live tomorrow for the Xfinity Series, probably closer to like lock or during the F1. Let's see, F1 starts 11:30. Xfinity is at 4:03. Fun race 2.5 hours. I'll probably have a window of about an hour, 50 minutes before, hour to 50 minutes, maybe a little bit more between the end of the F1 race and start Xfinity Series in the Xfinity Series race. That'll probably be when I'm live. So I will probably be live up till lock for Xfinity tomorrow. And then Sunday live at 10 a.m. Eastern time again, as that's the time that I just like to be live at. And yet again, this type of video I know for a fact is not for everybody, but if you are enjoying this at all, do let me know because I can continue it. I was gonna make this like a premium video only, but then I was like, I think two people are gonna watch it, and I would probably drown myself in the tub if I live streamed for two people, even if they were subscribers. I'd be like, oh man, that was not very fun here at all. So even if you just clicked on this for any period of time, thank you very much for being here. Ty Gibbs, man, that goes with kind of where he was in terms of struggling. Oh, we got to come back and do this too. Kind of comes back with where he was struggling last year with this, and we can go back. We'll look at this last actually. So like that's maybe not 22, but like he's not fucking fast for sure. We're almost done, boys. We're almost done. Let's see. Hocevar is there. Long run late in the practice, second half. I don't like that. That's weird. See, once we get down to like the lower averages, we start getting like guys that are just slow, or they just have like a wicked fast like start. When they fall off, Priest is pitting a lot. Q run at the very end. This is probably pretty trustworthy for Priest. Oh boy, that's not really what you want to see out of Priest at all. So we can trust that. Let's check out Burton. Let's see. Anybody else got anything to talk about at this point? I've been here talking straight for an hour. At this point, I have no idea what to even fill the time with now. There's going to be a lot of dead air. I can only talk about it an hour pretty much by myself. Otherwise, I start running out of stuff to say. Anybody want to talk about? I don't know. You guys want to talk about Kiss, Def Leppard, Judas Priest, anything? Harrison Burton just slow. I'm like, damn, he's slow. He's slowing ever, and then he's like ranking in like 17th here. Bro, what the heck is going on here, man? Look at Stenhouse. So I gotta get this done anyway. First laps, slow. Stenhouse is just slow long run speed. That's Suarez. Byron, yeah, I mean, the Xfinity Series is just a better series to watch in general, even if Byron's in it. I don't think Byron wins tomorrow, but he will certainly make it interesting. Oh, that's good to see from Suarez. So this is actually, Suarez is actually just slow. He is actually just slow. I'm going to be shocked if the rankings he's got to be low. Man, he's not. What in the hell? He's like right here. This is where the car is, man. I think that's going to be significant because he's going to highlight that like 14th to 20th. He's probably going to start like either. Man, let me think. Like if he starts in the top 13, I'm not going to play Suarez. If he's starting between like 14th and 21st, he's not offering any upside. This is only a PD play from Suarez. Like we got to trust that there. I wish the Cup Series ran Xfinity, man. That'd be so fun to watch. Yes, Gillen's just slow. We've already seen this. I've already looked at his stuff. He's just absolute ass. Haley's slow. I don't need to look at him because I've already seen enough of him looking through other people's stuff. Dylan, who seems to also be slow like his teammate. Let's see the drastic change between first practice and second practice from him. Literally can't be any worse than that. No major jumps anywhere. Austin Dillon is horrific. That is shockingly slow. That's actually like really, really slow. Slow enough to where I don't like. You got to throw the kitchen sink at it in the race. You cannot make small changes. If you are Austin Dillon, you are that 3 team. You have got to make wholesale changes to that. When you're that drastically slow, you cannot make small changes to that car. That will not change it. You have to completely change the setup on the 3 machine. So, like when it's like Sunday, do I like Austin Dillon? No, there is no reason to like him. Well, and then like when he finishes like 14th on speed, That's because they have just thrown the kitchen sink at it and it worked. And there was no data point that would show that based on what I would look at. Compare it with this other stuff too. Hendrick is slow as well. Hendrick also crashed, but Growless Smith. Let's look at Smith. I know Growl's is going to be slow anyway, so let's look at Smith here. Slow. Kind of like the Spire last year with like LaJoy and stuff. You'd always want to trust them more at intermediates, man. You do not want to play Spire cars at short tracks from what I'm seeing here, from what I saw last year and stuff. That's slow as well. Okay. That's slow. All right, so now that we got that done, let's end it with going over the recent form. Okay. So let's see how close. What is this? Most of our shocking top 10. Who is this? I don't know what you're referring to, Smokey. Do you physically or realistically mean who is this guy? I mean, this guy who raced in the lower series. I'm not exactly sure how to respond to that. All right, so let's go ahead and just look at. We're going to go through the rankings of this again, but this time instead of comparing it to practice stuff, we're going to compare it to what they did last year and to see if there's any drastic changes between this. And then we'll end it. And I thank everybody for showing up. So here's Jones. Yet again, I'm using the practice stuff more than what this was, but I just want to see this real fast. Got Chastain. Got Hamlin, who looks like JGR and the Toyotas are the guys who maintained their positions here. Top of the totem pole. Got Reddick. We got Larson, who looks like Hendrick has fallen off in the short track stuff. Which a lot of this might change if these guys do get the pulls, but interesting. Dow, Blaney, Busher, Byron. Byron's just slow. It's looking like you don't want to play Byron for sure, no matter where he starts. He starts in the back. All over the place. Carson Scott, Hocevar. I'm assuming you're referring to the Hat Man, the guy in the 42 machine. I'm going, oops, messed up. Is the net? I don't know. I mean, you need to use like full sentences, please, Smokey. I don't exactly know what you're trying to allude to. Hands. Yeah, right. It's not just me. Like, I don't think that's being an asshole. I'm like, I like, please use English. Please use full sentences. I will happily talk to you, but I cannot work off of the information I am being given at the moment. You know, that's so like. Here's Suarez, like characteristically out of like. I can only envision Suarez kind of improvement. Like I said, even if Suarez improves, we're still running in this range here. So this pool, I might have a really small pool on Sunday. This is going to be very interesting here. That's how oh no. Dude, are you a boss? I don't know if I'd enjoy working under like Elmer Fudd or something over here. Not filling out full sentences, man. That'd be confusing as hell. All right, so that's kind of where we're at least for me. Like, I was gonna do this anyway. Spend the night working on it. What were we here for? Is Harson in play for this way? Thank you. You could have just asked that in general. From what I'm seeing here, like Hocevar last year. Let's see. Okay, not any usable data. I forgot if he was filling in for Elliott at races that were before this. Anyway, we're looking at Hocevar. Can't believe I'm going to play based on. I mean, you should. Okay, Holly, I'm straight up. You should. I mean, depending on how many lives you're doing. If you're doing 20, like minimum 15, 20% of Bubba every week. That's 4 out of your 20 lines every week. Don't even look at it. If you like Bubba, if he's looking good, if he's looking bad, 20% flat min, move on. That is all my advice. If I run into situations where I like Bubba like I did last week at Las Vegas, I'm going to be playing a shitload of Bubba Wallace, man. Outside of the lug nut being stuck, fast. Reddick, fast. Like, I can't. I know you're like, I can't believe I'm playing a lot of Bubba. You can't. You gotta just get rid of that like mindset. Like, you just gotta trust. If I could spell Hocevar correctly, so Hocevar is here. Looking at practice laps, we've gone through. Hocevar, in my opinion, would only be in play if he qualifies probably like 28th on back. There's a real concern that if he qualifies 23rd, he'll end up finishing like 19th, 18th, and that might not be I don't even know what his price is. What's his fucking price at? He is 6,000. He needs 30 to pay it off. I don't know if he can do that. I don't know if I like that Hocevar thing there. Yeah, not about dude. Nobody is a Bubba fan, but that's the funny thing. It's like, why don't you like Bubba? I don't like Bubba because I felt like I'd lost the connection I had with him. You know, he came from like a middle class, true like sacrifice to get it there, and now he's like friends with Michael Jordan. Like I can't relate with that, man. There's no way in hell I can relate with Michael Jordan. But like I don't hate Bubba. I just like giving him a hard time because people lose their mind. I like just shitting on all his races because like Bubba Wallace had a lot of like questionable wins. Not that he was a part of, but like the Talladega win, his one-off race with Hattori in the Truck Series in Michigan, where he had an illegal car. Like all that stuff is so funny to just break down and stuff. Um, that's so funny because I just view maybe not even Speedway Lock, but like Bubba Wallace is very fast at other places, man. And hopefully I can show you that as we continue to go along in other races and stuff like that. I think at this point we have about covered everything. Um, we looked at everything. I looked at the practice stuff specifically because I knew I was going to do that anyway. I knew this was going to take about an hour anyway. That's why I wanted to stream. I think I'm going to end it there. I'll be live tomorrow for the Xfinity Series stuff. I'll be live. Xfinity is time to be determined. At least an hour before the start of the Xfinity Series race, but it'll depend on what F1 is doing. Or if my guy is an F1 just wrecked, then I'll be live like lap 30 of F1. I don't care. Because Xfinity qualifies like noon. So we won't have the grid until like, probably the end of the F1 race. 10 a.m. Eastern time, Sunday. Remember that this is, do we spring forward, fall back, daylight savings, whatever. Just be aware of that. We spring forward. So I lose an hour. Do I lose an hour or gain an hour? I'll figure that out. But that's Sunday. Past that, if you want my projections, if you want Sheets' NASCAR projections and stuff, and his ownership stuff, you can join the package below if you aren't already involved. If you want more sports that Sheets does his stuff for, that Goalie does his stuff for, and even possible Saber Sim add-ons, you can also get that through us. But past that, I think that is about everything we focused on. What is this? Just so many bad wrecks in his early career, maybe just stuck in my head. He had a lot of unlucky wrecks. I met Bubba Wallace years ago, which I always like to throw out whenever I just trash Bubba. I'm like, oh, here's a picture of me with him. I met him the week that his grandmother died at Phoenix. She didn't die at Phoenix. She died, and then they raced at Phoenix and stuff. And this is when Bubba didn't get like any fanfare. Media didn't talk to him. They didn't give a shit about him at all. He was super, super nice. I mentioned like, hey, I'm sorry for your grandmother and stuff like that. And he took a picture with me and stuff like that. And then he was running a career day in the 6 car, and he gets wrecked in that. Not his fault at all. Bubba Wallace has been involved in a lot of wrecks that were not his fault. So I don't know. Don't be so hard. Don't be so harsh on how guys perform in NASCAR. That would be my best advice. Like Haley Deegan, a lot of loud noise around her. When you look at how she actually performs in vehicles, off-road stuff, she has a lot of talent. I think she's going to excel in the Xfinity Series when she get away from all the clowns in the Truck Series. Like everything, you need to look at everybody kind of in their own bubble and analyze: are they the problem? Are they involved in wrecks? If they're involved in wrecks, are they putting themselves in those positions? Are they causing the wrecks, or are they just getting drastically unlucky? Um, I would advise you to do that. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. I will talk to you guys tomorrow, and maybe this helped you, maybe it didn't, but either way, thank you for being here. I'll see you guys later.